Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew But My Dog Did podcast. So happy all of you are here today. I am Maureen Scanlon, your host, and life coach Maureen, as most of you know me. Today, we have a really incredible guest, and I just know this is going to be one of those moments in those episodes where I leave with so much information and awe over what people can overcome, and especially because I have a tie with him where we have some military experience. So here today with me, I have Jason Pike, and I want to tell you about him. His story is incredible, and I cannot wait to really deep dive into it. So here's what Jason writes about his book. So I really want everyone to get his book. So Jason states the Army arrested me, investigated me, and tried to break me. A brutally honest tale of a soldier's unorthodox life, a rogue career, and often maverick character not easily aligned with the military credo. And if I say nothing further from that, like that in itself tells us what kind of a writer you are, what you're about, but we got to go further. I am a soldier against all odds, and what follows is a genuine and frank account, the good, the very bad, and the very ugly, of my 31 years in uniform. My story is one of survival, perseverance, and a refusal to quit no matter what. It shows that it is possible through determination, careful application, and bold strategy to overcome or compensate for personal humiliation brought about primarily by my own mistakes, being haunted by investigations, academic difficulty, and physical frailty. And I did pay the price for being me. This is how I did it, but most importantly, how I survived it. Just incredible. I'm in. I'm at the edge of my seat now. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, thank you, Maureen. I'm honored to be on your show, and I know that you have some experience in the Army or the military, and so yeah, I think we'll get along good on this one. So yeah, that's you pretty much said it. I mean, lots of arrests, lots of ass chewing, lots of trouble, but overall, it's a success story. But yeah, but there was just so many debacles. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and that's what we do here at Inc. is we start with those knee stories where you were brought to your knees in those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. I'm on my knees. Where do I go from here?
Right.
So just from that bio that I just read, oh my gosh, there had to be so many knee stories for you and
There's so
just
many of them. Yeah.
impactful. So let's go. Let's start with your knee
Oh,
story.
okay. We can go to all types of knee stories, but do you want to go to the worst one, or to which one do you want to go to? There's
If
so many of
I love it. That's what
them.
everybody says when I say, "What's your knee story?" Everybody goes, "Well, there's 100 of them, Maureen," and that's life, right? That's all the
Right.
experiences. But if someone asked you a question, what was the most impactful worst moment of your life? Go to that one where your mind goes to first.
Well, in the very beginning, when I was 17 years old, I joined the army, and this is a knee story, but is changed my direction of life. This first knee story, I had been diagnosed with a learning disability, which I still have. I believe all your viewers out there are going to do better on any standardized test than me, even right now, even though I got 3 college degrees. I joined the military at the age of 17. I went into the U.S. South Carolina National Guard. National Guard was a less that we're weekend warriors. They called us nasty girls, NG, but that's just the way it was back then. And but I went in there, and I didn't even have to have a. I lied that I had a. I lied to the military that I'm all good physically, which I was, and I had some problems on my knee, but it was before the internet, and they just. I don't know how I. I don't know how I passed the entrance exam, but initially, whatever, I signed my way into the National Guard, the weekend warriors, drinking beer on the weekends and things. So they sent me off to basic training in 1983 to Fort Sill, Oklahoma at the age of 17. And I wasn't getting it. I really wasn't getting it. And they wanted to throw me out. I was one of the worst privates because of the processing ability that I had, tying your shoes right, putting the helmet properly on your head, the inspections. It was just one damn thing after the other. It was a different time. I had the basic training was like that movie Harnia, Full Metal Jacket. It was screaming, cussing. It was hell. Okay. I mean, I know a lot of old soldiers like to go back to basic training and say, oh, when I was there and now blah, blah, blah. I understand that, but this was really hell. It was like it was an Army boot camp, but it really was set up like a Marine boot camp. Well, me and another soldier, this is a knee story, we weren't getting it. And he sent us to a criminal confinement facility, CCF. I know that this is the story you cannot, I've tried to figure out, but so he sent us to a criminal confinement facility, kind of like a scared straight program in hindsight, more like a motivational. It was a different level of hell. We're going to send you two sorry privates over there to set the example or to make us or to break us. And we went through a different level of boot camp for only 4 hours. I thought it was the entire day, but someone told me it was 4 hours, but it was making big rocks into small rocks, screaming, yelling, obstacle courses, everything out on the hot rocks in the summertime of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. We came back bloodied and bruised, torn, uniforms torn up. We had blood on our legs, knees, and everything else from what we did. And we were looking like hell. So that was sort of a knee point, I guess you call that. And came back changed. And more importantly, we were used by the platoon to, as guinea pigs to say, if you guys also don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to go to that facility and you're going to come back. So this story of going to a scared straight, a criminal brig, a military brig, is unheard. It's hard. You're not going to have that. And I have asked and there's just doesn't happen. Okay, it's not. It was a drug deal, and we came back, and the other guy broke. He decided to get out, and I stayed in. Everybody said I had changed. I probably became a little bit wired, a little bit too tight, but I made it, and he didn't break me. But that was a neat. And even when I got back home, my family said, "Oh God, you've changed." And I said, "Well, you know what? What? I guess what it's like one of those things. What doesn't break you sort of makes you stronger, I guess." And against the advice of all the good professionals, and the SAT scores, I went ahead and went to college. Not the traditional route. I went to a community college. My daughter calls it the dummy college, but whatever way. It wasn't engineering, it was education. So whatever I could get to college, I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway, against all these good people's advice. And that was my initial need that kind of formed me up a little bit and gave me strength. And matter of fact, I got my first girlfriend after I came out back there. So my confidence built up and things of that nature. And so
can for 1 second, because that's like 1, 2, 3 different times you said everyone said you changed. When people said you changed, what do you think they meant by it? And what do you think was changed in you that you recognized?
I became much more focused and motivated in a way that I never have in the past. You could just look at my 11th grade picture, my 12th grade picture. You can see a difference in my eyes and my face and how I looked at things. I was more wired. I was more focused. That was a change on that one.
I got it. My sense is, as a life coach, and maybe it's just my sixth sense as someone who works with mental health, is that you have some neurodiversity going on there.
I don't know. Yeah, it went through. I mean, I couldn't even talk about that. It seems like some of this trauma stuff, you don't really talk about it. How do you explain some of this stuff? And nobody's going to understand it. And you can't even understand what happened. And it's just, you go through something and you come out the other end, and you're changed in some ways.
Yeah, it's odd when you're going through it, you're in survival mode. That's really what it is. And then when you're on the other side of the mountain, you're like, wow, that was a pretty big damn mountain. I think that's
Yeah.
really how we who have been through, and that's just being human. I'll say we who went through it. It's anyone who's been on this planet and been in this life is, you've been through something. And when you're going through it, our minds are wired to get us through this next step, this next the block, the mile, the whatever. So I love it that I sense that you had some confidence after that, like sort of like a little more belief in yourself.
Yes, I had a lot more belief in myself. I stayed quiet. I didn't talk about it, and I didn't want to explain it. I didn't talk. So I just said, well, this is what happened to me. If this happened to me and I survived that, then the hell with all these advice of everyone else. The hell with them. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I can't say I'm going to do it because those are experts. These are people that say you can't do it. And I'm thinking, well, I think I can, but I can't. I'm just going to go ahead and do it and try it. And so that's what I did. And little baby steps and things. I did things a little bit slower. I took my time. And as far as education, I've got an entire chapter on where there's a will, there's an A, as a letter grade A. But I took things differently and had to take things differently. Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
That's awesome. You went, got that college degree. So how do you end up serving 31 years in the military? You go back to the military and say, now I'm an officer, maybe, right?
Well, yeah. So once I come back, like I told you, I started thinking, man, if I can go to college and I could probably become an officer, but I'm not saying anything. It's a secret to me. And I said, well, and I joined up in the junior ROTC program, and I thought that was just like easy. English is my worst subject, even though I'm a national best-selling author. But no, ROTC was very difficult. I mean, very, very easy for me because I had been through a lot of stuff in the military. And then I just went ahead and stayed. I was in the National Guard, and I was also in ROTC at the same time. And then eventually I got contracted as a scholarship person. I got scholarship cadet. They call us cadetiate. No, it's cadet, really, but they did. But then I went to Clemson University as a cadet. And again, it was so easy to me, that the ROTC thing. It was just a college I was focused on.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I thought the ROTC was so easy I never showed up because it was a waste of time. But I always showed up for that paycheck every month. So no, that's but no, and it was there. And after National Guard, I went on active duty service and pretty much stayed in 31. I didn't really think I was going to make. My goal was not even to be a career officer until I got on as an officer in full time. Once I got on full time, which was really later in my career, about 1992, after the National Guard, then I said, oh, this is cool. I can see myself retiring out of here because you got all those benefits and 30 days a year and things like that. So then I really thought, this is where I want to pretty much stay once I got on full-time active duty out of the reserve.
What we would call you as a lifer.
Yep.
So anyone in the military knows, you're either doing your 4 and done and you're out, or you're sort of going with the life thing. But yeah, the benefits are fantastic. I want to throw a statistic out there for a moment. Kind of proud of myself. I pulled this up. And this is from usafacts.org. And I did not realize this. Now, when you were in the military, we were also, and I say we were in the military because if you have a family and you're in the military, we're all in the military too. And I think that's underestimated and it's underappreciated that your wife and children have so much sacrifice that they give as well. Yet the veterans, it's thank you for your service, but I think it's thank everyone involved with you for your service. So that's just my little soapbox there. But usafacts.org says there is less than half of 1% of the U.S. population are active duty. That's 1.3 million people. And that floored me. That's 39% lower than 1987. Why they picked 1987, I have no idea, but I was almost graduating high school that year. So we were, by the time we got there, we went to Germany. It was his first duty station. He did his basic training in Fort Lost in the Woods, Missouri. And they call it, well, it's, we called it, but it's Fort Leonard Wood. And so really when the wall came down in Germany, and he ended up basic training, then going right over there, getting stationed in Germany, and sort of getting Germany, East Germany and West Germany together on one page. But that's just interesting to me, because I don't think we appreciate military as much as we should. And I also want to ask you, does that seem strange to you that it's 39% less than back in 1987?
I feel that's a true. I feel that's a true statement. The technology, the equipment, and the things doesn't need a whole lot of manpower. The population's growing up, meaning getting lots and lots more populations, but the needs of the military, because of the technology and the things we got, we don't need as many. So yeah, I think that's a true statement. And another reason, a lot of these people, a lot of these, like you're doing right now, stories, people are not familiar with the military. They don't understand. They think we all just go kill people, and that's not true. They look at the movies and they don't. So as far as what you're doing is a recruitment tool to tell stories. And a lot of these colleges, and even the Library of Congress Oral History, and I'm on there, they want to promote storytelling, not true storytelling. This is what I was in the military. I was a logistician. I was a medical person. Well, it's not all killing, but no, I believe that's true. I think it's less and less. So people are unfamiliar with the military. They just don't know, because it's getting less and less and less. And it appears it'll keep going that way. Years and years ago, everybody knew a family relative that had served. That was sort of normal many years ago, because we needed a massive type of a force. Now we don't need that type of massive force. And that sounds true to me. Yeah.
That's really, I love that you said that, because like you said, the personnel is not as needed because of the technology. I mean, look what we just did. We send these unmanned planes, to go shoot down our targets. And that's great, because I don't want us to lose any more personnel and any more lives. Or, I mean, we could be on our soapboxes about all the people who've lost limbs, not just lives, but just lost limbs, from this last, I feel, unnecessary thing that we were involved in. But that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, the military was great. First of all, my ex-husband, when we went into the military, I mean, I was pregnant. I mean, we're 19, 18 years old, and he didn't have, money to go to college. It was really a great resource for young kids to get a discipline, to be get those benefits, even if it is just the 4 years. It was helpful, because then we got a VA loan to be able to get our first house at 24 years old. That was fantastic. Now the downfalls in the storytelling, and this is back, and you and I can talk about this, back in the unfortunately in the 90s. I don't think the military focused as much on mental health, and I don't think they cared about domestic violence, because I was definitely, I had to be quiet about the domestic violence going on in my marriage. And I felt they bred alcoholics. I mean, a case of beer in Germany when we were there was $3. A case of beer.
That's cheaper than water. When I was over there, a beer was cheaper than water when I was in Germany. That's just
right. And the only thing you can do is go to an officers club or an NCO club, non-commissioned officers club. So it really bred a lot of alcoholism, I feel. And that was just my case. And I'm not saying everybody, but it was very, in my friend circle at that time, that was the only thing to do. So I digress. It's not about me, but I love sharing military stories. But the camaraderie and the friendships that you build in military are like no other. I'm still friends with girlfriends from way back when I was 19 years old, and that is what I love about the military. So 31 years. So tell us how we get into this investigation. Tell us what happened.
That's the real deep dark. And I was a senior guy. I was a lieutenant colonel. I had a lot of years and a lot of awards when I went into a federal investigation. And we've heard the term of being thrown under the bus or ghostlighted. That happens in schools, organizations, in many places. But in the military or in government, if you're a senior guy like I was, it's hard to get rid of that person. It's hard to kick them out if someone doesn't like you because you're kind of set. You got your years in, they're just not gonna, or you can stir up a lot of things to try to transfer that person. So I don't know. The only thing I can think of is everybody has been talked about in life negatively behind their backs, and that's hurtful. But this went to a different level. It went to a federal investigation, which was totally bullshit. So what happened was I went to Korea. I had already been there on 2 different tours before. I had been deployed. I had a lot of senior time in me, but I didn't get along with a particular group of colonels. One was a retired colonel who was a contractor, and another one was a female full colonel. And I just didn't play right with them. I mean, professionally, I had a disagreement with my job and what I needed to do. And that rubbed them the wrong way. I try to be diplomatic about it and say, I am not into this type of work, but I'm into this type of work. I can contribute this way. It was a professional thing that really didn't work out. I can only be me, and I can only give my strengths. And so what I found myself in was more than just an investigation. It was a series of backstabbing events, which was purposely put out there to either transfer me or to kick me out of the military, which is very difficult to do that. So one accusation was that I was a pedophile on base. That was totally bullshit. Okay. Supervisor came to me, full colonel, says, well, yeah, what you doing over there at that elementary school? So my daughter's over there. I go over there to eat lunch with her. Oh, okay. Well, when these people hear about your problems with children, you're not going to be that good. And so that was a threat. I've never wanted to kill someone. I almost passed out when she said that. I've been pushed. We talked about, I had never been pushed in that way. I guess we all got a trigger point where I almost passed out. I almost wanted to kill her. I saw red, and well, that didn't work, and that went away. Oh, by the way, that just sort of went away. There was people thinking that in me that I was a pedophile. After a year or so, well, then I go to a formal federal investigation, and it wasn't pedophile. This time it was subversion and espionage against the U.S. government.
Oh.
Well, pedophile didn't work. Now, okay, now you're doing selling secrets. Oh, okay. So it was one damn thing after the other. So with this particular federal investigation, we have in the military or in the government hotlines. Hotlines are for giving information, usually anonymous or whatever, to officials. It could be for sexual deviancy. It could be for suicide. It could be for criminal activity. And in my case, it was because they thought that I was doing something disloyal to the U.S. government. And I'm thinking, wow, I just went through pedophile rumors just a while ago, not long ago, and now now I got spying, and now I'm a spy. So they brought me on board. I went up there to see my commander. They had 2 sets of CID, Criminal Investigation Division, and MI, Military Intelligence. They had 2 different rooms. They were briefing us separately in 2 different rooms. This was an orchestrated thing that I was going to face the wind with the accusations of selling secrets. My commander's got to know about it, and I've got to know about it. And 2 sets of, I was pissed off. I was really, I had already been pissed off by the pedophile charges, which was just a rumor, it was just a rumor that tried to, now, okay, selling secrets. So I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this stuff. And see, I was pissed off at the messenger. They were just giving us the message and saying, this is what do you want to see a defense attorney? I said, hell yeah, I want to see a defense attorney. This stuff pisses me off. I'm not doing any of this shit. I says, I was raged out, and I told the CID guy, he was walking out the door. He says, try not, he put his hand on me, so try not to let this bother you. He was trying to give me a hint that I'm good, but I was still, no, hell no, this really does bother me. I don't like this bullshit. They don't know what I just went through before with the pedophile. Now I'm going to do face charges of spying. So
Well, and
being
you would think that that would be obvious too. You're like, okay, how are you, who's believing this stuff? It's almost like having a coworker that doesn't like you, that just keeps going to the boss and throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks. And to us on the outside, it looks so obvious, but the military and their regiments, and especially, as you need to be a conformist. Unfortunately, in the military, you signed up to be a conformist. That's how it works. And you bucked the system, and someone was like, oh, we're going to get this guy. We don't want people who don't go along with what we want, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I went to go see my defense attorney, and he says, what's going to be happening is they're going to follow you around. Their job is to try to find something on you. And that's what happened. Followed around, computer crashes, all kind of stupid drama, crap, really made you paranoid. First time I ever had an anxiety attack in the military was then. My mind is racing. I'm paranoid. My high blood pressure. Go to the EKG, thinking I'm freaking out. My heart's stopping. I've never had anything like that. I was a healthy. I was 80 push-ups in 2 minutes, and 2 mile run. I was physically fit and everything. I still am pretty well, but I was better. So I was like, what in the hell is happening to my mind here? And so, but that, because it just drew me paranoid. These people, that they did, what I'm saying is they played the game pretty good, because it got to me, and I was pretty tough, and I just had to stick it out. A lot of people think, well, why don't you just quit the Army, or why don't you just move? And it's not that easy. At the time, in hindsight, if I could write more details of the events and give them to someone, and at the time I was in survival mode, just like you talked about. I'm in survival mode. I don't even really care to think about it. And when I do think about the details, because the details don't lie. If you can just say who, what, when, where, and why, but you put the pen, or you type, like you start shaking, it's like you're just out of control. You can't think. You can't even do your job. So you're in a survival mode, and
and then it becomes principle. Also, it becomes like, okay, I've gone this far. You put me through this hell this far. Now, the gloves are on, our gloves are off, and now I'm really gonna fight you on this, because I know it's not true, and part of that, like you said, getting the lawyer and just being paranoid is, people can like mess with your mind to make you think, oh my God, did I do that? It's a terrible thing to mess with people like that. And you saw, no matter how physically fit you were, that mental health can change everything. So
yeah, that did it. The mental health, the first time I ever went to a counselor and I felt bad about going to a psych counselor, was over there in Youngson at 121. I was like, man, I don't know what the hell to do. It's like, I'm just like, this is what's going on. And all he did was listen to me. And then I went to a chaplain, talked to him, and he kind of gave me some advice as far as, that person over there, do you know why they have no friends and things? And but but you're still in a survival mode. And my wife, she says, man, you're not doing anything wrong. Just keep going to the elementary school, keep doing what you're doing, because there's nothing going on. And
I love your wife. I love your wife. It's like, I've always said to people, if you are doing, it's like when the boss calls you into the office and they're like, oh God, I'm so nervous. And I would say, you have nothing to be nervous about if you've done everything the right way and you've done everything on the above board. But like I said, people can make you feel like you did. But I love your wife for that, because did that not help your confidence and make you feel like I can do this?
Felt good. I was still in survival mode, but at least I had somebody who was believing in me. Yeah. And I had some other colonels out there that said, hey, this is a crazy situation. And, they just kind of feel sorry for you. And they're like, what in the hell did you, they're like, what the hell did you do to these people? I said, I just told them I felt that I didn't need to be doing this type of job. I need to be doing this type of job. It was more of a professional thing. And it's like, damn, they're like going crazy, It's like, and the rumor, well, all the information goes up high. And so after 2 years of just being crazy paranoid for a while, I move out of South Korea, and they don't know what, because they've heard so much shit about me. They don't know what to do with me. They're like, well, in being a human resource people at the higher level, like, we don't know where to put you. We don't know what to do with it, because we don't know what to believe. So my
Yeah.
reputation was mud. I mean, I was
Mm.
dirt, and even though I was a senior person, so I eventually did get redeemed by going to Afghanistan and doing very, very well in Afghanistan in war. And I come back from Afghanistan, and it's like I'm Jesus Christ. Like you've done all this great stuff. We see it, and you're good. I'm thinking, I'm still pissed off at the federal investigation. That's still on my mind. See, Afghanistan, I was trained. I wouldn't train for that. I wouldn't train for the federal investigation. After that, my dad died. I wouldn't. And so I had a 1, 2, 3 punch. And after Afghanistan, I was totally burned. And they're thinking, "You're wonderful." I says, "I am not wonderful. Why are you saying I'm wonderful, y'all?" And so I was just burned. I was burned, and they
Yeah.
thought, but that was a tough time. I explored I explored PTSD options. I got on an elliptical just by accident, and when I was doing the elliptical, I started having these photographs and visions, and I got mad on it. And I got sad on it, cried on it. And if you were looking at me on the elliptical, you'd probably think I was losing my mind. But I allowed it to just go out. And then while I was exercising, I was processing all these images and all these feelings, and that helped out a lot. It's like using the bathroom. Yeah, I
Wow,
did that
that's
by accident.
amazing. I
Mhm.
love that. And you know what? Everybody knows me say that I say this all the time. You got to find that outlet. And that outlet found you. I love that it was just sort of it was so it was so bottled up for so long for you and that physical ability to just get on there and then you just it came and it had to get out and I
Mhm.
love that you recognize it as PTSD too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
did you end up retiring from the service? Is that what
Mhm.
finally happened?
I ended up retiring, pretty much totally burned, and I had to go and seek therapy on very different options. And that's one. You can have different options of your therapy. It can be some people fly fishing. You got to explore things. I'm not into the drugs. I hate the drugs, and but I'm
Okay.
into anything natural of that nature. So yeah, I swear I explored different options of how to deal with it, and eventually I became writing or helping out writing this thing and getting it down on paper and processing that with a professional storyteller to help me out. But yeah, the story of the federal investigation and all the drama there, that was the most difficult. It was only one. It was a chapter, so that was the hardest chapter to get through, and to
Yeah.
try to explain that these things can happen. PTSD or trauma is not. For me, it was sort of built up and just had to come out. It was not a one. Well, that was that. I mean, yeah, that right there hit it. That right there hit it. And then anything after that, my father's death. Anything after that, you're more fragile if you haven't taken care of it. You're more fragile to other things. It could be a dog dying or my father dying or doesn't. So we became more fragile, more.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was during that time in investigations, my hearing increased. It was like my smelling, my sights. I was in a more of a survival stance. I had eyes that come out in the back of my head. I could see things different. And so I was like, nobody's going to get to me. I'm going to try to, work myself through it. But that was a very difficult time. And then yeah, so
Yeah, and the writing it is the reliving it. And I'll tell people all the time when you're dealing with any kind of trauma healing, you have to feel it again. You do. You have to feel it to heal it. And reliving it is hard, but if you tell yourself, I'm gonna feel it, I'm gonna go through it one more time, and then I'm gonna name the emotions that I feel, and then I'm gonna give them permission to leave. I think that the writing of the books or the journaling or people who create music or art, I think that's really the idea is we're going to face it and then we're going to let it go. It doesn't mean it's not going to pop up again. I call it Tony the trigger. It's going to pop up every now and then, but then you can just say it popped up because of this, because I felt angry about this or
mhm.
something reminded me of this and I'm sad for a minute. So I love that. Now, when you say the soldier against all odds, I love that. I love the title of the book. I love your story. So, where are you now, and what do you do with how amazing you are, and how you what do you know now? This, I mean, obviously, my podcast is I never knew. What do you know now that you didn't know then?
I didn't know my story would affect so many different people. I didn't know. I was doing it more for me. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to be considered an author, right? I didn't know it would hit number one, like last month on the Army Memoirs. And I didn't know all the reviews. I mean, my soldiers, they give me some good reviews. So, and so, but yeah, that's, you feel the emotions of the reviews and the people that came to you and that they put their arms around you. And so, yeah, it's like, it's pretty cool. So I never knew it was going to be that great of a story. There's misspellings and sort of typos and things of that nature in there. We can do a second edition. I know that, but you can read the story. I never said I was a genius anyway. English is my worst subject. But no, yeah. And now we're looking at doing another book for veterans benefits, and storytelling should be as difficult because it's not as emotional. It's more of getting your veterans benefits more in a storytelling style and things of that nature. So that's so I'm practicing with you, Maureen, and get my expression out to communicate to people. I'd like to go to some sort of a speaking event, more formal instead of Zoom. That's one of my goals. Another goal is to get another book out on veterans benefits, or do a second edition of this. So I got a few things in the back burner there, and I'm still working and learning as I go. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm so proud of you. You should be so proud of yourself. And I'm so happy to be a part of that journey. And I think you're going to do so well. I think it would be great for you to be on a stage and be able to reach out to these soldiers that, they're in that Me Too moment where it's like when you're in the military, I feel, first of all, they own you. They tell you they own you. And the mind control of that is you're really not allowed to think. You're really not allowed to think outside of what they want you to think. I have a fun story that you might appreciate. I worked at the NCO club as the assistant manager. And so during the day, I would serve, like I would do the lunch rush. We also had some contractors that came. Um, what's the name of the? I can't remember the name. They make the, not Boeing, but I think it was Lockheed. And they would come over and I would make lunch and whatever, and then I managed the books. And I remember I had a retired master sergeant who was managing the NCO club. And I said to him one day, "Gosh, I'm so mad. My husband has duty again." And so, guys, for non-military, what happens is you're required anytime in the military, doesn't matter. Everybody has to do like a KP duty, like kitchen duty, or CQ, where they sit at the desk in the barracks and watch the phones and that kind of thing. And so I said, "Gosh, he's got to pull duty again." And here I am, I've got two little babies. I mean, literally newborn and 2-year-old. And he said, "Well, did they go through the whole roster in a week?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, they have to go through the whole roster." And I said, "I'm sure they didn't because we're in a giant signal brigade, right? Where there is no way you went through this in a week." And he goes, "Yeah, I at 19 years old, if this doesn't show you the chutzpah that I have, that I even the survival mode thing, I come look back and go, what the, I can't believe I did it. I marched myself down to his first sergeant and CO. And I said, I want to talk to you guys because that master sergeant said to me, you have rights. You are a civilian." I was like, well, I was like, okay, it's on. Don't tell me that. I go down there, I march down there, talk to the first sergeant and the CO. And I said, "Did you go through the entire roster before you signed my husband duty again this week? And you do realize how that affects the morale of your soldiers when they're not spending time with their family and blah, 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 blah," just vomit, right? My husband never had to serve another duty again.
Well, you found the answer to that one. Yeah, we all have our different duties, and we all, yeah, exactly. Even as officers and NCOs and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just like, I was so glad I had that advice, but you don't know these things and when you get into the military and especially enlisted. I mean, the officers with their big giant houses and their privileges. No, I'm so teasing you. Heard You earned that, but when you're piddly little, enlisted right out of basic, it's crazy. You don't know stuff. And that's why I think the community is so cool because you help each other out on what to do. And,
Yep.
the motto is always hurry up and wait. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
yeah, hurry up
or
and wait.
there's a form for that. So,
Yeah.
it was very interesting. I would suggest it to anybody to just, if you're finding your way and to get those benefits, you can get college. If it's something, I
Mhm.
think military is fantastic. If it's something that you want to establish a career, it really is, I think, the fast lane to doing that. But do be prepared that, for those however long years that you're going to be in there, um, there is a compliance and a conformity that is expected, and there's obvious chain of command. And so if that's not your personality, or that's not your uh your forte is following what people want, then I wouldn't do that. But I think for opportunity, would
Mhm.
you agree, Jason?
Oh, yes. And the best thing to do is just to get that good score on the entrance exam to the military, just like you would do at a college, because that's going to give you so much more opportunity as far as jobs and
Yeah.
also maybe even bonuses.
Yeah.
So let's say you're smarter, which everybody is smarter than me when they joined, but let's say you have a good score on that entrance exam. You're going to get possibly bonuses that you never knew about. You'll probably get some really nice jobs that you probably might want to take that are technology oriented or what have you, and your life will not be as miserable like mine was as a field artilleryman or as a grunt or someone out there in the woods, unless you want that. So you can get some really sweet jobs out there. Just think of a Coca-Cola corporation, and Coca-Cola is a massive corporation around the world, just like the military is. And there's air conditioning mechanics, there are car, there are just different, there's probably medical people in Coca-Cola. And so you can get into different types of things. Just don't think it's all going to be shooting and misery and things. Now that
Mm-mm.
does happen, but so yeah, a lot of people have a misconception of the military, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get it." Go. They look at the movies, Hollywood, and say,
Yeah.
"Ah."
Well, and what they don't realize is you can get real world experience in there. I mean, if you go in the military police, you come out and then you have a better chance of getting into law enforcement in your local city. Medical, same thing. You go in and you're a medic in the military, then it's equivalent to things like paramedics and EMTs out in real world experience. My ex happened to he was a mechanic in the motor pool, but hey, it was like light wheel vehicles, and he was able to come out and work at dealerships and be like a service advisor. So don't ever think that, you can't use it as real world experience. I think it's great for, I know kids today, I say kids, but the youth. I mean, I have a 24-year-old son who, they see what other people are doing. This guy's rich, and this is this guy's a millionaire and he's 26. I mean, what they're seeing is not reality, and there's not a whole lot of like plans. And I don't think college is always the way to go, to have this huge debt out there when they get out. I do have a daughter who went to college, came out with a $40,000 debt,
Mm.
even though she had scholarships up the wazoo. So that's not always it. I'm a believer in trade schools. And I'm a believer that if you, really want some opportunity, military is great. I would not have encouraged my son to go in the military when he was 18, because at that time um, I didn't believe that what we were doing was, I felt my son would be in more danger than the good that we were doing there. And that's probably terrible, I hope people don't think that's anti-American, but I just didn't want to lose my son, or have him lose, most of the young men during that period were not losing their lives, they were losing their limbs. And people don't think about that. It's always this, oh, we've lost them, we death is one thing, but these soldiers that come back and they have to live with this for the rest of their lives, um, to
Mm.
me seems more traumatic than anything else. So what are you doing now in your work, in retirement, in semi-retirement? What are you doing now to have fun?
Well, for fun, I just go various places. This book is fun for me. Doing these podcasts are fun for me, and I don't consider it work. I ain't making no money, but it's fun. Looking at, I'm gonna just in about another hour or two, I'm gonna meet with my ghostwriter. We're going over another book, and we're gonna have another book to come out, and and I go to the gym and I work out. I go walk the dogs. I try to exercise as much as I can, and yeah, that's kind of my fun, and love talking about the book and get going on another book and getting these podcasts and working on my expression that you're helping me to do this training, expression of these stories, which are so many of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Just
that's kind of my fun.
honing in on what experiences people really need, what is going to inspire people. And I love that. But you did actually say the magic word on this podcast, which is dogs. Everybody knows me and everything that I do. I don't, in case you're not familiar, Jason, I have 2 books out myself. One is called My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am, and one is called My Dog is My Relationship Coach. So everyone knows I'm all about the dogs. Obviously, podcast. I never knew what my dog did. And then I have a My Dog is Everything online store boutique for healthy treats that I actually make in my kitchen myself. So when
Cool.
you say dogs on this podcast, you're in big trouble. What kind of dogs do you
So
have?
I've got a yellow lab. He's about 7 years old, and then I got a little Mexican dog, little rat dog, a Chihuahua, Chihuahua. So yeah, but yeah, so I got two different types of dogs, and yeah, I like my yellow lab the most. The Chihuahua is just like runs around, but yeah, so I think, wait,
Yeah, don't be giving the chihuahua. I'm trying to find a copy of my books that aren't even handy. But yes, I have a chihuahua too.
they seem like a yappy dog.
Mine is, she's not normal. She's not a normal chihuahua. Everybody that meets her is like, she is not normal. She's not yappy. But the one that I have that's right by my feet, who has separation anxiety, is a border collie Aussie mix, and she's on
Okay.
they're both on the cover of my books. But this
Okay.
is the one that I love absolutely to pieces. So what I do as we wrap up is can everybody find your books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all? Is that where they can?
It's Amazon, not Barnes and Noble, but it's Amazon.
Okay.
A Soldier Against All Odds. You can get it from my website. You'll connect with me. My website, jasonpike.org. Jasonpike.org. It's on Amazon. You can even put my title of my book in this browser. You're going to see some other outlets of getting it. Pretty simple. I've got it on audio. I did the audio. I got it on Kindle e-reader. I got it on hardback, paperback. So I've got a lot of different versions out there, and I am the narrator. I am the author. It comes from the horse's mouth too. So you'll see the emotions in me. You'll see how I go through the inflections of my memoir. I mean, so. No, it's really
Good.
unbelievable types of stories. It's different. It's not blood and guts, even though I saw blood and guts. It's more of a life in uniform, starting at the bottom and going to a high level. Everything I did is from the bottom, even these podcasts. I had to learn. I didn't know what a podcast was about 4 months ago. So yeah, that's what it did. Yeah.
I love it. And I will not be offended that you're saying that my podcast is at the bottom. So
No, I said,
just kidding.
I'm getting up there now. I can see how I'm getting up there. I've done over 25 podcasts now, and it seems like the more I go, it seems like it just keeps building. So
That's right. And I happen to be globally in the top 1% of podcasts. And we have over like 20,000 listeners now. So you're actually at the top now that you're here with us. So, Jason, I always say that, my topics on this podcast are sort of heavy. So I'd like to end it on a lighter note. And so here's a segment that I call What Can You Do For Me? And what this is there are different services that people offer in the world. And I'm going to give 2 examples while you're thinking about either a service you've seen offered that is ridiculous or fun or useful, or that you've used. So here's what I found today. Number one, you can hire a professional mourner. So, for instance, if you have an uncle who was a real beep, and no one's coming to the funeral, you might have to pay to have some professional mourners there. This one, this one I'm in. I might move to Finland just for this reason. In Finland, they have professional sleepers. And what that is they hire someone to try out each bed in the hotel to see which one is the best. So I'm kind of in on that. Like, sign me up because I love to sleep. And so thank you, Finland. I'll come be a professional sleeper. On that note, what do you have for me, Jason?
Professional eater. In other words, someone who would go around and taste and give ratings to various restaurants and cafes on the taste of the foods. And so, and you can work on those tastes. And I know about Korean food. I know I lived in Korea 3 different times, so 6 years overall. So I'm really good on Korean delicacy. I know what's good. I know what's not. And so I could be a professional taster of Korean food for the most part, or any of the Asian food. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And it's so specific. That's what I love. You like honed in on the niche. You're like, I can be a professional food critic taster for Korean food only. So I think that's fantastic. Yeah, you might want to see, this is the beauty of entrepreneurial minds, is you just brainstorm and go, this might work. So with that, I want to say thank you for your time, Jason. Thank you for the hour that you gifted all of us and my listeners. I always say, just something you gave to me, you'll never get back, and time is so much more valuable than anything else in this life. So I thank you for that so much. So
Hey, you're welcome. I'm honored to be on your show. Top 1%. I love that.
That's right. All right, listeners. Well, that's going to wrap us up for this week, for this episode. I love you all for being here. I love all of the 5-star reviews. I love that you're sharing this podcast with your friends, your family, and building this community. Please reach out to me if there's anything, if there's maybe a subject or a topic we haven't touched on. If you want to reach out and get a hold of Jason, I can get you to Jason. He's at jasonpike.org, and he's also has his books on Amazon, Soldier Against All Odds. My books are also on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Outskirts Press, Walmart, and Target. And don't forget to go buy your furry babies those healthy treats and fun little things. I actually got in a shipment today of Hawaiian shirts for your puppy. So you got to go check them out, and we get your shipment out within 24 hours. So go get that fun stuff for your babies. I love you all. And lifecoachmaureen.com will get you to any contact information you need me to have if you want to be a guest, or you just have a comment about how fabulous Jason and I are. We're good with that. So take care, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And most of all, take care of those furry babies for me. And please, please adopt. Do not shop for those puppies. Until next week. Mwah.